YouTube channel, throughout social media. We'll get you out here well before the top. Now, we'll give you guys enough time to get those bets in for the primetime games. But today, a little differently, with no game scheduled, will be football focused. We'll sneak in also a baseball feature for you here on the drive-thru. Let's take a look at who'll be on the show with us here for today. With us, we got Zawacky Wednesdays, and we got Mitch in the house. Ninos, James Clark, Sean Murphy, and Chris Ruffolo. All right, here's how they'll line up for this evening. Ruffolo, Ninos, Murphy, Clark, Zawacky, Mitch, and then I will close this one out. All right, let's get started here. We'll be football focused here on this show today as baseball resumes again on a Thursday. Limited primetime schedule tomorrow. We may even sneak in some football again tomorrow with that limited schedule here in the primetime hours in baseball. There's a couple of doubleheaders, day-night ones going on as well. But let's get the show underway here. Let's go ahead and welcome in Chris Ruffolo. You'll find him over at Pick Dogs as well as the morning show. Chris, what's happening?
Oh, Tony, it's that one time of the year that we all kind of dread, but it just means we all get a little bit closer to football season. But ready to talk some football. It's been a few months, but I'm excited. I'm ready for the season already, and now I get a chance to talk about it. It's great.
Yeah, good timing. We're seeing some training camps open up, seeing the Raiders training camp open up, so a lot of good excitement now as we're getting closer and closer. Remember, Raiders and Jaguars, they kick off the preseason, so they got to get into camp early this year.
Yeah, they probably need the early work as well, so maybe it's not necessarily the worst thing that they get into camp early.
Not at all. All right, Chris, we're going to look here at college football with you today. We're going to be looking at NC State.
Yeah, that we will. This is a team I kind of touched on our morning show a couple days ago. But, over the last 11 years, the ACC's predominantly belonged to Florida State early on and more recently Clemson before Pittsburgh reigned supreme last season. Now, the ACC hasn't had three different champions in 3 different years since 1990 to 92 when Georgia Tech, Clemson, and Florida State won. But I think we could be heading for another changing of the guard in 2022. Now, NC State, they opened a lot of eyes last season. They went 9-3 overall, including 6-2 in conference play, tying for second in the Atlantic with Clemson. And that was the Wolfpack's third 9-win season in the last 5 years, 7th winning season in the last 8 for the Wolfpack, and in 9 years under Dave Doran. And, while it hasn't always been that NC State's good enough to get there, the potential has always been there. The Wolfpack, they returned 10 of 11 starters on the defensive side that held opponents to just under 20 points per game last season, finished second in the ACC in scoring defense, 14th nationally, and they were third across the board in the ACC in terms of yardage against last season. On offense, they bring back 7 starters. That's from an offense that scored 33.1 points per game last season. Includes Devin Leary at quarterback, who had 35 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions last season, which helped the Wolfpack commit the fewest turnovers in the ACC last season. Leary kind of got lost in the shuffle with names like Kenny Pickett and Sam Howell stealing all the attention, maybe with Howell doing it for the wrong reasons. But now the Wolfpack, they will have to fill some holes. Like, their top receiver's gone. Their 1-2 punch in the backfield's gone as well. And they had an offensive lineman go 6th overall in the NFL draft. But you look at NC State's win total at 8.5. And when you look at the schedule, I think the only tricky spots up to November are Texas Tech in Week 3 and a road game against Clemson, with Clemson having revenge on their mind after NC State won in double OT last year. You got a couple tricky spots in November as well, with Wake Forest on the road. Wake Forest, North Carolina, and Louisville on the road. But we have a total of 8.5 with an NC State team that, like I said, has won 9 games in 3 of the last 5 seasons. I don't think a double-digit win total is out of the question here. Taking over 8.5 wins for NC State at -150, and for NC State to also win the ACC at +800.
All right, we got Chris here on NC State, over 8.5 wins here. Of course, you've got the experience there defensively, with NC State returning those 10 starters. This was a really good defense last year. They gave 20 points a game, and they saw actually nearly 100 yards of improvement in yards allowed in 2021.
Yeah, this was just a really good NC State defense. And again, an NC State defense that continues to fly under the radar when you have teams like I said, Clemson taking up a lot of the spotlight. Even Florida State, Miami's one of the big guns in there. Pitt really took a step forward last season. But I think this is NC State's time to shine. I think, with so much turnover, so much turmoil going on in the ACC right now, the NC State Wolfpack have been just one of the more consistent stand-pat teams, from last season into this year. And I really like the direction that this NC State team is headed.
Now remember, they play 8 conference games, 4 out of conference here. So your out of conference games here at East Carolina, they should be able to handle that game with their defense. Charleston Southern here, the D2 team. Texas Tech could be tricky at home. Of course, then they face UConn. Jim Morris Jr. his team, but those looks like at the worst 3 out of 4 wins there to start the season.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Even in that, that tricky stretch in November that I mentioned, there are very few spots where I don't see the Wolfpack being the better team this season. Like I said, that Clemson game's going to be tricky, and like you mentioned, Texas Tech, and even those spots against Louisville, North Carolina and Wake Forest. But I still think that NC State, there's enough there and a lot of returning production. This could be an NC State team that wins 9, if not 10 games next season.
I think also an interesting game here is Boston College from that run team. That's a passing-oriented team to see how improved Boston College will be.
Yeah, but again, I think that just, there's still going to be an adjustment for Boston College. And like I said, just with how much, returning production from a really good defensive NC State unit from last season, I just think NC State's going to be a tough out in the ACC this season. And yeah, Boston College, like you said, they're shifting their philosophy a little bit, but again, for me, I have to sort of see it before I believe it with Boston College and a lot of teams in the ACC against NC State for that matter.
Yeah, a lot of teams look on to bounce back on the schedule. They do on the coastal. They do pull Virginia Tech at home. This was Virginia Tech that had finished 6-7 last year, so they have some room for improvement there. Florida State, another team here that looking to improve off a 5-7 season. So a lot of losing teams there on the Atlantic side of the ledger there, as we had only 3 winning teams last year, Chris, from the division.
Yeah, and for me, Virginia Tech, always one of those teams that you expect big things from. You expect them to finish with 8 or 9 wins, and then they finish closer to 500. And maybe this is a year that they do take a step forward. But again, for me, NC State, I think, is surprisingly the team to beat in the ACC this season, of teams maybe not named Clemson.
Only 5 teams finished with winning records at the end of the season there in that ACC. So we got Chris here, NC State over 8.5 wins. All right, Chris, let's take over at Pick Dogs Premium here. Of course, no action today, but I know you've been doing great work here as we'll put up the numbers here. Looking at Chris here for the past 3 days, we're looking at here at 2,399 units of profit last 3 days, almost 24 units of profit, all documented. Also coming off a really good NFL season. Of course, it is Christmas in July. What do you have going on over at the site?
Well, Tony, you said it perfectly. It is Christmas in July. I got tons of stuff going on for Christmas in July at Pick Dogs. I've reduced the prices on my 3-day, 7-day, and yearly, as well as my my MLB season pass. And you can take the long-term passes for just me or someone else as part of the 2-for-1 capper deal. 2-for-1 capper deal I don't believe is reduced, but still tons of great value at Pick Dogs Premium. I'm going to have my NFL and college football passes up in the coming weeks. You can see there we did well. Finished strong in NFL last year, and I'm really, really zoning in on college football early this year. So tons of money to be made. If you've been on long term, we made you a pretty penny, and we're not going to stop just because we're coming out of the All-Star break. We're going to hit baseball hard. We're going to hit football hard and make you guys some money. So hop on board.
Yeah, I think baseball, look at these numbers last 30 days, 24 units of profit from Chris the last 30 days. I don't believe baseball was even scheduled on June the 20th. We were done with NBA, so this is pretty much all baseball here. So Chris has been on fire here in Major League Baseball of late here. So good time to get on board with Chris here. Of course, we're showing you the NFL numbers. It is Christmas in July here. Of course, your best value here is getting with a 1-year all sports pass from Chris. Get all of Chris's plays for a year. It includes all the regular season and postseason. Don't forget the preseason in the NFL as well. So good time to get on board with that 1-year all sports pass. But if you just want to try Chris out here for 1 month, he does have a 1-month all sports pass up there as well. So get on board with Chris Ruffolo over at Pick Dogs Premium. Again, your biggest bang here for your buck is that 1-year all sports pass, because again, you're looking NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, NCAA football is all preseason football, as well as all postseasons included here in that 1-year all sports pass over at Pick Dogs Premium. All right, Chris, is always great having you show. Continue the success. We'll talk with you next week, but I know you contribute a lot to the show, part of the morning crew, as well as the videos at night.
Yeah, I told you we're going to have the MLB videos up very soon. These teams, even though they had a 4-day break, like to leave us on the edge of our seat with some pitching matchups. But yeah, we'll have those up tonight, and then we'll be back at it tomorrow morning and finally have some games to talk about.
And have some games to talk about. All right, Chris, have a great week. We'll talk next week. Chris Ruffolo here on The Drive-Thru. All right, let's continue on with the coverage. Let's get this one continued. Let's bring in Al Ninos. You'll find him over at Pick Dogs, where he's been doing great work up there. So let's bring Al in right now. Al, what's happening? I thought we had Al here. We might have lost him. So somehow, some way, Al Ninos got disconnected. So let's move on here. We'll go ahead and bring in Sean Murphy. We'll bring in Sean Murphy, and you'll find him. Oh, I think we got. Are you back out? Here you are. You're back again. Okay, got you there. I don't know. You disappeared. All right.
No, I thought James Clark was second in the order. My bad.
No, I put it up in the lineup. It had you second. So here we go. All right, here we go with Al Ninos in. All right, Al, you're going to be looking at that at a prop here involving the Bengals and Steelers.
Yeah, we looked at the Bengals yesterday on the show, and I guess this should be one that comes through a bit easier one to come through for us if we want the other future to come in, the one I gave out yesterday, for there to win their division. But I think this should be two of their easier games along the way against the Steelers here, who, well, kind of play into their weaknesses a little bit with T.J. Watt there and a couple guys that can get some pressure on the QB, and we saw the Bengals struggle with that last year. But again, I just think that with all the weapons they have, I think he can check the ball down to Mixon maybe a couple times, and if he needs to, and I think they work their way around those two guys, and I think they take care of the Steelers in both their matchups. So I'm looking at the Bengals here to sweep the season series against the Steelers, and go 2-0 against them, and laying a little bit of juice, which is not something you always like to do with futures, but I think these are two matchups they should win outright. So I'll lay the minus 120 here and take them to sweep the Steelers.
All right, Ninos here taking them to sweep the Steelers here in this one with the Steelers. Of course, a team that some say may be rebuilding. It's a team that's really had struggles here of late here. Looks like, you got Pickett here, you got Trubisky, Mason Rudolph. It just seems like the Steelers here going through a transition. Maybe Kenny Pickett can have a really good training camp, but I don't think it's like Tomlin here to throw a rookie in week one. Maybe so. We never know.
No, I think it looks like it's Trubisky that's expected to start there for them. But again, I don't think it's going to matter much who starts. They don't have much to work with, and it's not like that's the greatest bunch to choose from anyway. So again, I just think the Bengals here, despite not being a perfect team all around, I still think they're a much better team in this matchup. So as I said, give me them to sweep the Steelers this season.
Say sweep the Steelers there, minus 120 there. I don't know if you money line them both. Might you make it a little better odds there in the minus 120.
I think you would if you can do that. Some books might not let you, but if you can, yeah.
I just make a rolling parlay. Just bank it, just hold it, and then reload and load it into in a situation like that. Interesting to see one thing with the Steelers. Remember when the Steelers went to a backup quarterback, how competitive they were? Is basically because of the play of the defense. So we'll see how the defense plays this season. Of course, over the span of a 17-week season, you could see some wear and tear here as you get later in the season if you're really over-relying here on this defense.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as I said, they have a couple guys that, might give opposing QBs nightmares the day before they play them, but if that's the scariest part of a team, and if I'm really going to worry about their defense outscoring me, then I'll take my chances there, because I am more worried about obviously the Steelers' defense than their offense. And but again, as I said, I think the Bengals do have enough weapons to work their way around that. So
I think the scheduling timing helps the Bengals because they catch the Steelers in week one. So you got a week one game against a rebuilding team. Who knows who will be at quarterback? Who knows how this team will change? And then you get them again in November 20th. So a little bit more continuity then, but still a lot of season left to go there. So I think it plays in the favor here in this bet in the fact that the Bengals get them in week one.
Yeah, that's one game out the way early that, we like the matchup here, and they get them at home in the first game, correct?
Yeah, they get them at home in the first game.
And then, again, we want them to stay healthy for game two, obviously. But, again, I think they can even afford a couple injuries and still beat the Steelers. So, I kind of like this pick. But
again, if they can keep their quarterback healthy, that's always a concern there with Cincinnati is can they keep their quarterback, can that offensive line block better? And they're going to have to block better to keep their Burrow healthy in the pocket there because he took a beating in his rookie season. And that's one thing you always got to worry about here. And, of course, don't sell this Steelers team short, okay? We've seen the defense play well with a backup at quarterback, right? So that's something you got to keep an eye on here with the Steeler team. So be careful before you discard the Steeler team as being, rebuild, go against. I have a lot of. Tomlin's done a great job when he's been the underdog as well. So keep an eye on that as well. Bengals to win series here. Go ahead.
Yeah, all that being said, I believe the line is. The Bengals are just -1 at Pittsburgh. So in November. So yeah, Obviously, the bookmakers aren't sleeping on the Steelers, but again, I like my chances with the Bengals here.
Yeah, we haven't seen with Mason Rudolph led teams. We've seen the Steelers competitive at least there with him in there. But we'll see how the quarterback is. Remember, we're going to see some 3 preseason games, and you know how fast, you know how fickle it is, right? If Trubisky shows that he can't do the job, well, we'll see who will be the starter. You know, Trubisky's lost a job before when he was with the Bears. Bengals to win Series 2-0 against the Steelers, -120. All right, El Ninos, let's take a look over at Pick Dogs Premium here. What we have going on over Christmas. We know it is Christmas in July. What do you have going on over at the site?
Yes, Chris was saying I got all my long-term passes reduced, so check them out. And well, baseball is coming back tomorrow, so should be back in action. And obviously, I still already got a couple games I'm looking at for tomorrow. But yeah, great time to hop on one of those long-term passes right now. We got the Christmas and July specials going on.
Yeah, Christmas and July special right now with Al Ninos. He has that 1-year all sports pass here, $9.99 reduced here. All of his plays here for premium plays for a year, including postseason play from all the major sports, your NFL, college football bowls, NBA, March Madness, NHL, and more. So get on board with El Ninos here with the Christmas in July. The 1-year all sports pass is your best value there. But he also has reductions here in his 7-day pass, which again will start tomorrow as we get baseball back in action again. And 30-day all sports pass there over at Pick Dogs Premium. All right, Al, as always, great having you show. Have a great evening, and we'll talk with you again tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Tony. Have a good one.
You got El Ninos here on the drive. Let's continue our coverage. Your football focus here. We'll have a baseball future pick here coming up here with James Clark, who's been on fire, but we'll continue here on the drive-through. Let's bring in Sean Murphy. You'll find him over at Pick Dogs Premium, where he's put up some really great numbers. And also, we'll be looking here at football with Sean. So let's bring Sean here. Murphy in. You'll find him at Pick Dogs Premium. Let's bring Sean in. Sean, what's happening?
Hey, Tony. How's it going tonight?
It's going awesome. All right. Season win total, you'll be looking here at the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, so this one has been kind of gaining some steam here. No surprise if we end up seeing it jump up maybe even to 7. But right now we're looking at a 6.5. You might have to lay -115, -113. I've seen it -110 still. I really like this play. Everyone was down on the Lions last year, obviously, and for good reason early on. They started the season with 8 straight losses, but that had a lot to do with a really tough early schedule. 7 of their first 8 games came against what I would consider playoff contending teams. Most of those opponents were, could be considered Super Bowl contenders. So they lost all 8 of those games. Everyone kind of, wrote them off. It looked like the Dan Campbell kind of experiment wasn't going to be working out too well. But then they went 3-5-1 over their last 9 games. And you look at their 13 losses last year, 5 of them came by 4 points or less. So they were in a lot of tight games along the way. I like the skill position players they've got. A lot of people kind of left Jared Goff for dead after he was traded from the Rams in that Matt Stafford deal. But if you look at his numbers from last year, he actually completed better than 67% of his passes, 19 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions in those 14 games that he appeared in. So we kind of saw the pieces around him get better as the season went on. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a huge finish to the year. He was one of the best fantasy wide receivers down the stretch. DeAndre Swift was hurt. He's got the potential to be one of the best running backs in the league, especially from a fantasy perspective. He catches a lot of passes. TJ Hawkinson was hurt. He's back healthy this year. They drafted Jameson Williams. He's hurt to start the year, but he'll be back at some point during the season to work his way in. I think it's key to consider. I mentioned the injuries. They had the 3rd highest injury impact in the entire NFL last year. So they lost Jeff Okudah early on. I mentioned DeAndre Swift was out. TJ Hawkinson was out for a time. So they had a lot of bad luck on the way to that. Poor record overall last season. So if they can get a few breaks go their way this year, I think we can see them easily eclipse the 6.5 wins. And you look at their late season schedule here coming up this year. So they play the Bills on Thanksgiving Day and the annual Thanksgiving game in Detroit. That's likely going to be a loss. But after that, they're going to face the Jags, Vikings, and Bears at home, and the Jets, Panthers, and Packers on the road. And that game against the Packers comes in Week 18. So by that point, the Packers may have wrapped up the division. Who knows who will be playing in that one? That's last year we saw the Lions beat the Packers in Week 18, so anything's possible there. And then we look at their early part of their schedule. They've got 2 of their first 4 games at home against Washington and Seattle. So those are 2 very winnable games for them as well. So, I just think we're set up well here. I think that the team itself has bought into kind of Dan Campbell's coaching style and just his whole attitude. I think this is a team that's going to start to develop a bit of a winning culture here this season. So I'll go over the 6.5 wins for the Lions.
All right, we got Sean here on over the 6.5 wins here for the Lions. Of course, the Lions, NFC team here. Look, they'll be playing the NFC East, and it looks like they're going to be playing the AFC East. So you got a lot of Bills in there, the Patriots. Of course, the Dolphins could be tough. Jets looks to be a team that's down. Looks like their extra games here will be against the Seahawks as well as the Jaguars. And you did mention in there the Jaguars. So yeah, so you got two. Those are the two teams based on their placing in the schedule. They play those two teams as their extra games.
Yeah, exactly. So those games against, especially, Seattle looks like has the potential to be one of the weaker teams in the league. You've got Washington in there, as I mentioned. The Jags may be better than last year, but still not a great team by any means. And you look at their own division, really. The Bears not looking like anything special here this year. I'm a little higher on the Vikings than some, perhaps. Packers, we don't really know exactly what to expect, given their situation. So, I think the turning point could be if they can get one of those two wins against the Packers. And like I said, one of those games comes in Week 18, so that could be at the point where the Packers aren't even playing all their starters. So, I just think this one all around is set up well. I think it's just a team that, kind of on the rise here based on how they finished last year and just all that bad luck they had.
Yeah, and also too, you got to hope that the Lions are in contention somehow. When you get to that point of the season, that you're hoping where a win helps you, not where the losses help you at that point of the year. Yeah,
exactly. Also mentioned, of course, with they also drafted Aiden Hutchinson, of course, this year. I didn't really say much about their defense, but I think their defense is. It's underrated, the defense and also the offensive line. They have the potential to have one of the better offensive lines in football. So, just all the. I don't want to talk them up so much because they're going to, right out of the gate, week one, they face a pretty good. It could be a tough game there, but I think we're at a very manageable number here.
Yeah, they had some picks. They had picks. 2 first-round picks. Aiden Hutchinson in the first, pick 2, pick 12 in the draft. Jameson Williams, they get a wide receiver there. They go defensive end in the second round. This is the Lions team. If it wasn't for the goofiness of the coach early on, people would look at this Lions a little differently. But that's really what you get with these defensive coaches. They're a little goofy sometimes.
Yeah, I was a big critic of Dan Campbell at the start of last year. I kind of, with the biting the kneecaps off and all that stuff. But it really seemed like the team really bought in as the year went on. You could see at the end of the season, they were really playing for their coach rather than. Some of the other teams that kind of quit on the coach, they could have just as easily quit late last season. The way that year started with 8 straight losses, it seemed like that tie against the Steelers kind of turned them around, and then from there they became more of a kind of cohesive unit. So I think the potential is there for just a lot of kind of positive carryover from that finish. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, I think he was still wearing his defensive coordinator hat early on in the season. I think at somewhere middle of the season, he switched over to the head coach's hat. So this is how I'm a head coach, so I better act a little differently. Speaking of ties, this is really what's tough with these overs now. With this new overtime rule going 10 minutes, you're going to see more ties, and it really screws up overs with season win totals.
Yeah, that could play a factor, but I think that's the kind of thing that gets cooked into the lines. I don't really, there's a lot of kind of luck involved in that. I wouldn't really factor that in too much. I think regardless, 6.5 is a very, we're looking at a 7-10 season here. I think it's manageable given their schedule.
Yeah, you get that extra 17 games now in the regular season. Lions over 6.5 wins. All right, Sean, let's go over at Pick Dogs Prim, where you're putting up some really great numbers here. The past 30 days, 1,218 units of profit, probably all baseball. I know the NBA was done well before June 21st. Of course, great work here in Major League Baseball. We start again tomorrow. Christmas in July. What do you have going over at Pick Dogs Premium?
Yeah, so baseball got off to a bit of a rough start this year, but now we've turned it around on a good 87-60 run, and I think that's up 13 net games when you're factoring in the lines on those games. So it's been a solid run in baseball. A bit of CFL in there as well. Usually have a player or two in the CFL each week, so that's been going well. Also, right now, so I've got my annual pass is actually half price, so you can pick that up for $9.95 right now. That's a that's a huge discount over buying the monthly passes or the weekly passes or even the full football package. If you look at the price of that, this annual pass is it's the best deal I have out there right now. So it's a good time to kind of hop on board, get a full year. I've also got my baseball packages discounted, obviously, with the All-Star break. I've got the monthly package up. That's under $200, I believe, right now. And the weekly pass, maybe $149. So, yeah, it's a good time to get on board. Baseball's been running pretty hot. I feel pretty good about that coming out of the break. And then we've got NFL preseason starting up in, 2 weeks? A little over 2 weeks. So, yeah, it's a good time here to get on board.
That's right, guys. Got on board with Sean Murphy over at Pick Dogs. Closed out right to the All-Star break, hot fashion here, 1,218 units of profit the last 30 days. That is all documented. So when you go to Pick Dogs, go down to Pick History, you can see all the plays. It's fully documented there. You can add them all up. It adds up to 1,218 units of profit last 30 days. Of course, Christmas in July, the best value right now. The featured package right now from Sean Murphy is Christmas in July, half off, 1 year all sports pass. All of Sean's premium plays here from all the major sports that he covers: NFL, college football, college basketball, NBA, NHL, MLB. Puts in there WNBA and CFL as well. $9.95 here with his 1 year all sports pass. Get on board with that. Also, some special prices up there on his season long end of the season baseball pass. A really good value there if you want to get Sean's full season pass here. $2.99 remainder of baseball, including postseason. So this will run till the early November here, as you got. We still have a good over 3 months of baseball left when you count the postseason. So that will cover the postseason as well. MLB full season pass, $2.99, affordable pricing right now with Christmas in July. Get on board right now with Sean Murphy over at Pick Dogs. All right, Sean, as always, great having you show. Continue that success, and we'll talk with you again next week. All
right, thanks, Tony.
You got it, Sean Murphy here on the Drive-Thru. Guys, if you missed any of our picks, we'll do a complete recap here at the end of the show. Let's continue on here with the Drive-Thru. It is now time to welcome in James Clark. You'll find him over at Pick Dogs, where he's been on fire up there. Let's bring him in right now. James, what's happening?
Not much, Tony. How are you tonight, bud?
Doing awesome. All right, you're going to give us you've been on fire in baseball here, hit the home run derby, so you're going to give us here a Major League Baseball team to win World Series.
Yeah, guys, I like the Braves again to win the World Series. I know, they won it last year, and, from top to bottom, you look at this Braves team, I think they can match up with any team right now. They're second in the NL East right now, behind the Mets. They're third overall in the NL and fifth overall in Major League Baseball, going record-wise. The trade deadline ends August 2nd. If the Braves can pick up maybe a really good pitcher or two, or a young pitcher, to get in the rotation, with their other young pitchers, you look at the bats that the Braves got here, with Austin Riley, Duval, Cunha Jr. They got some good hitters from Matt Olson. So, from top to bottom, this lineup's really good. Just the pitching. I think if they get a few pitchers lined out, for a team to, for the champions, which the Braves are right now, to be plus 900 to win the World Series, I'll take it because this Braves team got hot. Second half of the year, and here we are, after All-Star break, starting back. I look for them to get hot again here, and I look for the Braves to go back-to-back, man, and win the World Series at plus 900. I'll take it all day.
All right, we got James here on Braves to win the World Series at plus 900. Yeah, I think they're pretty much a really good lock here to make the playoffs. Look at their starters here. I think when you look at the Braves starters here in a potential postseason, you always take your top three guys, right? You're looking right now, guys in great form. Max Fried, Kyle Wright, and Spencer Strider. These three pitchers, I know Morton's ahead in the depth chart, maybe because of seniority. You may put in Morton instead of Wright. I think you got to use a rookie in your playoff rotation, don't you? I know Ian Anderson's the oddball guy out. He's just not up to par here this season. Although he could be in trouble with Soroka coming back, but we'll see how that works down later in the summer.
Yeah, I agree. This young pitcher for the Braves, has stepped up and looked really good this year. And, I think, when he gets in the playoffs, the way we've seen him at the season to step up, I don't think his nerves will bother him. I think he'll step up. But, like I said about the trade deadline, if the Braves can get I know the top three go, but if they can just get that one more starting pitcher, maybe make a trade or do something, their batting order will stack up against any team, I think, in Major League Baseball. They get that one more dominant pitchers. I can see Braves going back-to-back champions.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at it now. I mean, they're pretty strong 1 through 4. Freed, Morton, Wright, and Strider. Ian Anderson is your weak link there. You get that next pitcher. Let's just say who's out there. You got Montaz, you got Castillo, Male is out there. Those names, people are looking at the Reds pitchers. They're looking at the the Oakland team that's that are looking to move players. But who was their all-star player from that played last night? Who was they wanted to fly him? They wanted to fly him commercial. Blackburn may be out there. I think he called out the team for flying him commercial. But actually, the Houston team flied him in their plane. So that was a pretty funny story there. But anyway, those could be a potential addition to that roster. But it looks pretty strong already, I think, on this Braves pitching staff, right?
Yeah, it does. It does. They got a good pitching staff, that is. Or, if they don't want to go pitcher, Juan Soto's out there. He turned down some big money. He may be looking to go to a contender. Maybe he don't want to stay with the Nationals. They come off championship. He's done got one ring. Maybe he's looking to get another ring here. You never know. The Braves maybe can wheel and deal and somehow get him, another big bat with that lineup they got going on. So I just like the Braves right now, the pitching and, the stuff that they can do right here to make a trade to just better themselves further on into the playoffs. I really think they can be champions.
Adding a pitcher makes a lot of sense now that I think about it, right? So you move Ian Anderson. You're going to the bullpen. You bring in that good starter in that rotation. Then that puts the pressure on Charlie Morton to pitch like Charlie Morton again. Although he had a tough start, showed some improvement, but again, if Charlie, you don't know if Morton goes south again, then you get to the postseason. Okay, I just got Freed, Wright, and Strider, who I can count on here. We may need a fourth guy in a situation where the schedule doesn't work out for us. Maybe you're right. Maybe you should get the pitcher now. When I think twice about it, because Morton is the question mark too as well.
Yeah, Morton is a question mark. Like you said, he struggled this season. If you got some, like you said, somebody there getting ready to take his position, maybe he the fifth wheel or fourth wheel in the playoffs, and got to push him. Man, I need to step my game up. A lot of things, they've been on his sticky stuff, and it's hurt a lot of pitchers. This season where they've cracked down on the sticky stuff. You can see it. Some of the pitchers that was real good with the sticky stuff is not as good as they was last year. So that's a big part of it. But I really like the Braves this year to go back-to-back champions, especially with that plus 900. I think it's good value.
A lot of Yankee money. Pushing some of this Braves. That's what's happening there. The Yankees looking good. So they're getting a lot of money. Braves to win the World Series plus 900 from James Sark. All right, James, let's look over at Pig Dodge Pin where you've been on absolute fire here. Look at this here. 2,745 units of profit for 2022 over at Pig Dogs. Also showing great profit in baseball. We're talking football as well, because football here, we got teams in training camp right now. College football isn't too far away here. I think we got a kickoff here on August 26th, so we're less than 3 weeks away from the start of college football. What do you have going over at Pick Dogs Premium?
Well, guys, right now it's Christmas in July, guys, and my year-long package, right, $1,330, I've dropped it down to $1,000. Guys, look at that. If you go back and just look from the last year, that's number one is in college football right there at $1,557. Followed it up with the NBA. Number one in NBA at 2,900 units, and here I am in MLB. I'm second right now, right behind Tony. It's been on fire in the NBA. That's a lot of winning, guys. That's going on. As you see, and I'm second right now in overall winnings for the year. So for $1,000, guys, if you done got my yearly package, you would done double. But for the discount we're giving for $1,000, jump all over it, guys. Like I said, you'll get all my football, all my basketball, and then the rest of the year of this baseball, all the way back into the All-Star break we are right now. So check that out, guys. Or team me up with any of the other cappers on the site. Like I say, we got the best cappers in the world, and we do by far. So team me up with any of them. We'll put some money in your pockets, fellas.
That's right, guys. Got on board James Huck over at Pick Dogs. Premium seed numbers 2,745 units of profit for 2022 documented. Great finish here in college football last year. Number 2 in units production for 2022 over at Pick Dogs. Of course, James has his 1-year all sports pass. Get on board with that. $1,000 of discount here with Christmas in July. So a good time to get on board with that. Also, long-term passes here from James where you can get on board with him as well with the Christmas in July. A great value over at Pick Dogs. Of course, that 1-year all sports pass. All of James's premium plays for the year. He told you how great the numbers have been here for college football, NBA. Of course, it includes all sports that he handicaps as well as baseball here for 1 year. All right, James, as always, great having you show. Continue that success, and we'll talk with you when next time you're available.
All right, Tony. Appreciate you having me on the show, buddy, and try to see you tomorrow if I can.
You got it. James Clark here on the Drive-Thru. Guys, if you missed any picks, we'll do a complete recap here at the end of the show. Let's continue on here on the Drive-Thru. Let's bring in Zawacky. Boy, he had a great pick for us in that WNBA. The Dream. He had the Dream. Boy, that was a nice win and cover here as a big dog against Las Vegas Aces last night. Las Vegas is a team that struggles covering big spreads. And, man, not only they didn't cover, they lost the game outright as a 12.5-point favorite. Let's bring him in right now. Rod Zawacky. Rod, what's happening?
Right? We were talking about before we started the show. That's craziness and outright Dream stopped them. Their defense definitely can't play, like we said yesterday. Defense is huge. Dream did. Like I said, their starter there. We only played 6 games. Is back and she's looking lights out. I think she scored 27 points in that one. Craziness.
Yeah, craziness.
Tiffany Hayes was huge in that game last night. Huge. When she's healthy. The Dream is definitely not the same team that we've seen earlier in the season. So. No
doubt about that. No doubt about that. Good pickup there from Rod Zawacky here with that WNBA winner last night. So I got one for us today, Jim. Rod, as you'll be looking here at college football at the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Yeah, we're looking at these Razorbacks, and this is Pittman's 3rd year for Sam Pittman with the Razorbacks, and we know what they had a good season last season. Definitely, they love to run the ball and pound it down teams' throat. They did against Penn State in the Outback Bowl last season. They got themselves a nice win. And you look at the schedule this season, I think they come out and they start off the season. They return their quarterback, KJ Jefferson, returns as QB, so that's big for the Razorbacks there. And then the Razorbacks offensive line is just 20 guys that are well over 6'4", 600 pounders that are going to definitely protect up front. And I think their plan is still the same. 2022, same thing. Run the ball, run down your throat, and attack. And that's what they're going to do. And you see they're going to start off their schedule this season. They're going to play the Bearcats right off the bat. And this Bearcats team is definitely depleted from what we've seen the last couple seasons. Lots of guys have departed from Cincinnati, and I think they easily get that win in game 1. And then you look South Carolina, the Gamecocks here, their rushing defense is awful last season, ranked over 100 there. So I think they start the season 2-0 there. And then in the next one last season, but still not enough. Missouri State lost their QB, and so there's 3 wins. We only need 7, right? So we look at another one. They play Liberty here, and Liberty, I think they're going to take their offense was lights out last season. Liberty here, but no Malik Willis. He's moved on. He's now with the Titans, and so that's noticeably step back for the offense there for the Liberty, and I think they get another 4 wins. If he finishes with a less than record, I think Eli Drinkowitz will be in the season with the Missouri Tigers there. And then you got Mike Leach, his first winning season since he's went to Mississippi State with the Bulldogs, and going to be another tough one there. It's a game that the Razorbacks can win. They return a bunch of running. They return. Raheem Sanders comes back. AJ Green comes back. Both as sophomores now, and this Arkansas team, I think they're going to fight and compete here in the SEC. And you can ease 5 wins right there, and you just keep moving down their schedule. And who else have they got? BYU. BYU against their rushing defense has not been good. They're ranked 95th last season, and I don't see any much improvement there on their rush defense. So Razorbacks came in and start season 3-0, and they got a couple with Texas A&M, might be a little tougher one. Playing Alabama is going to be a tough one, and might be. One get the win against Missouri Tigers. That's 7 wins right there. I see them at least getting 7 wins. 7 wins against teams that they can easily run the ball down their throat, which is what we're going to see from this Arkansas team. This is what they do. They love to run the ball. And watch out. I think they're going to be right there at the end of the year battling. So 6.5, I think that's too low. Give me the over 6.5 wins for the Razorbacks.
Rod likes over 6.5 wins here with the Razorbacks. They will have to rebuild the defense a bit, looking at getting 4 starters back on the defensive side of the football. Of course, this schedule would have looked a lot tougher last year, right? Facing Cincinnati and Liberty last year and BYU last year. It's a little different situation this year with some rebuilds going on there. Of course, the thing with
last season.
Yeah, that would have been rough. It would have been rough. Always the big question mark here with this Arkansas team is, can they beat the top tier teams? We don't really have to, because with the 6.5 line here, right? That's only winning going 7-6, which is when you look at the schedule, is possible. Of course, depending on the play of the defense, it's really going to come down here is how well this defense can reload on this Arkansas team.
Right, and I think they will. I think the defense have done they picked up some pieces, and I think they'll reload and be even better than what they were last season, which will be an improvement. As we call no matador defense, we'll get a little more tackles, and they'll come to play. I think this Arkansas team, watch out.
Yeah, the scheduling spot here, the scheduling spot is tough here in end of September, right? You go at Texas A&M, the following week you have Alabama, then you go on the road to Mississippi State, then a back-to-back road spot here at BYU. A bye then at Auburn, but the bye lets you recover. But that 4-week stretch is going to be a little bit tough on them.
That is going to be a tough stretch, yeah. From September 24th to October 15th there, before they get their bye. That's the key to this whole getting over the 6.5. They got to get one or at least get 2 wins there. 2 out of 4. At least go 500 in those 4 games, and we'll cakewalk the rest of the way over the 6.5.
There we go. Arkansas Razorbacks over.
Starting 3-0. I think they come out and they win the first 3. Go 3-0 to start the season.
You go 3-0 to start the season. Then they hit that help their
right?
September.
That's the tough part of their schedule.
That's the tough part of the schedule there. No doubt about that here. Of course, LSU, a team we don't know what they're going to look like here. Kelly coming in. We'll see. They get him near the end of the season in mid November. All right, Rod here on Arkansas over 6.5 wins. All right, Rod, let's take a look over at Pick Dogs. Of course, we get back to action with baseball tomorrow. But of course, you had a really good college football season. And of course, we have Christmas in July going on over the site. What do you have going on over at Pick Dogs?
And over at Pick Dogs Premium, like I said, we had a good college football season, so we reduced the package for the season pass on that. You can get college football for $500. We also said I've included the Gridiron Pass, where you can get college football and the NFL for $750. Or the best bet going right now is the Year Pass, where you get all my plays for the next year for $900, and that'll include all NHL, college football, college basketball, NBA, NHL, and CFL. If I throw some CFL in there, because CFL goes till December now. They go a little longer than what they normally do. So lots of ways to make money. Definitely scoop a Year Pass. And also starting tomorrow, there's a pass there that'll get you the rest of my plays. I'm going to give you a 3-day pass. It's normally $85. That 3-day pass is included to give you everything I got for the rest of July. So $85 gets you to the next 10 days into August. So it's probably mostly just baseball going near the end of those 10 days in August. I haven't seen too many CFL that I'm like jumping out that might get in there, but other than that, it'll be baseball. So those 10 days, $85 can't go wrong.
Yeah, maybe the dream come out at plus double digits again. Maybe you'll find one there from WNBA, right?
Right? If they find one of those lopsided lines like that again, I'll definitely be all over it.
No doubt, guys. Get up on Razorbacks over at Pick Dogs. Come off a really great college football season. Good time to get on board with his Christmas in July. He has that 1 year all sports pass here reduced down to $900. Great value there. He's taking quite a bit of money off that 1 year all sports pass. Also, if you're looking for just his college football VIP season, Christmas in July reduced to $500 for all of college football premium plays from Zawacky, including regular season, as well as the bowl games and the playoff games. So get on board here with Zawacky with his Christmas in July promotions right now, the college football VIP season pass, or if you prefer, you can upgrade to a 1 year all sports pass. All the premium plays that Rod releases here over at Pick Dogs from all the major sports. Like I said, he also looks at CFL, WNBA, and UFC is also included there. All sports pass is all sports that Rod puts into the system at Pick Dogs. All right, Rod, as always, great having you show. Continue that success, and we'll talk with you again on Friday.
Definitely. Everybody take care. Enjoy your Wednesday, and back at her hard again tomorrow.
Back on it tomorrow. Tomorrow, see you Friday. 6-game card here for Major League Baseball. Tune in again tomorrow live at the drive-thru. Guys, if you missed any of our picks, we'll do a complete recap here at the end of the show. Let's continue on. Let's welcome Mitch here on the show. Of course, he's over at Pick Dogs. You know that. He does the morning shows every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. No games in prime time tonight, Mitch, so we're not on the clock right now. But how's it going?
It's going, and it's always the All-Star break is always anticipated in the respect that maybe we might get a day off here or there, or at least a couple hours off. And by the time I'm 5 minutes into it, I'm already sick of it.
That's right. Already ready to get going here with tomorrow. Good card. There's some good matchups tomorrow here. The Yankees and Houston doubleheader, of course, Dodgers and Giants. So morning, afternoon, and late night, good stuff from baseball. But Mitch, we're going to look here. We're kind of football focused here in these 3 days here on the drive-thru. You're going to be looking at this Chiefs team.
Yeah, I think I have my pick for today is where we're doing just these football, and I know a lot of the other sites do these intensive football previews or whatever, and I know for a fact for being online for a long time that most of our audience really doesn't care, and there's some great people that have been doing football previews for a very, very long time that are better than any of these websites out there. So why bother? We're certainly not going to just regurgitate what they have to say, and they do a great job of it. So we don't want to take anything away from them. But I think that, for me, my pick here is I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs to not make the playoffs this year. I think when we look at the NFL playoffs, generally half the teams that make the playoffs 1 year don't make it the next year. And I know it's an expanded playoffs now. There's more playoff teams than ever before, but I think what we're looking at here is a Kansas City Chiefs team that probably is headed towards a regression, and an 8-8 or 7 and or 8-9 or 7-10 type season here is probably what they're looking square in the face at. Tyreek Hill, who is kind of the bailout guy for Patrick Mahomes, gone from this team. Yeah, they still have some talent there, no doubt about it, but they don't have the depth that they once had. And I think losing Tyreek Hill, we saw it in that playoff game against Cincinnati. Even though they lost that game, it was Tyreek Hill that got them in the game and kept them in the game. And, without him, I don't see Mahomes doing it. Mahomes hasn't looked the same since the injury a couple of years ago, since before the Super Bowl against the Bucs. And he looked hobbled last season for a good portion of the year. He's still a great quarterback. He's a great arm. He's a great decision maker. But if you don't have the guys that are open, it makes it a lot tougher. And I just think for the Chiefs, most of the teams that lose the Super Bowl don't make the playoffs the following year, and the Chiefs did make it last year. In fact, they came within overtime of beating the Cincinnati Bengals and probably going, to the Super Bowl. But the thing is that, they didn't get it done, and I don't think they get it done this year. Andy Reid has a knack for winning, but I think even he's got to take a step back this season. The division looks tougher than ever, with the Chargers and the Raiders and the Broncos adding Russell Wilson. The Broncos drafted on top for a long time for a Broncos team, and they use those picks really wisely. We're seeing a lot of first-round picks from just a few years ago around the league get cut or seen as a guy on the hot seat. And even the Raiders, who had those 4 first-round picks a few years ago, Farrell has talked, the guy who was drafted the highest is, they're talking about cutting bait with him. And it's like teams are not afraid to cut bait with these first round picks, but we're not seeing that from the Denver Broncos with Jerry Jeudy and Hamler and, everybody else. The only thing they cut bait with was Drew Lock. who, they got Russell Wilson in return. And I think Russell Wilson's a proven winner. And I think he has probably a better defense than he's had in recent years and a better team. So I just think that Kansas City, a lot of stiff competition, a lot of, road games where they're still seen as a top gun in the NFL. So teams are going to come out to root against them, fan bases. I just think getting almost 2-1 on your money, too good to pass on for me.
All right, I got Mitch here on the Chiefs to not make playoffs at plus 180. We had interesting enough with the 17 game schedule. We had a lot of winning teams not make the playoffs here from the AFC. And these are teams that could steal a spot, could be a spot stealer this year, like the teams like the Dolphins at 9-8. We had of course, the Steelers made it in at 9-7-1, but then you look at teams like the Colts who missed out at 9-8, and of course the Chargers who missed out at 9-8. So these are teams really on the cusp of getting there.
Yeah, I mean, teams like the Patriots making it, and teams like the Colts missing it, and the Colts went out and they upgraded at quarterback in, I believe, a big way, and like the Dolphins have upgraded. They've gone out. They've had a lot of high years of drafting, in the top 5, and now they went out and filled a lot of those gaps for a quick fix, and we'll see how that works out for them. But I just think the competition is going to be stiff in the AFC, and I think the Chiefs end up missing.
Yeah, don't forget another team that's a candidate for a spot stealer are the Baltimore Ravens. Don't forget they finished in last place in the AFC North at 8-9, tied with Cleveland. I guess with tiebreakers, they get the last place schedule.
Yeah, and I think the Browns with Deshaun Watson there, if he can return to form, they're going to be a contender to make the playoffs as well. The Bengals probably aren't going away anytime soon. So, I mean, it's just the AFC has gotten to be a lot tougher than it was, and I think that's going to be part of the problem too. And the Chiefs still have that top end schedule, so nothing there to really help them. I thought I listened to Rod's commentary and I thought it was interesting. His take on Arkansas, and not so much his take on Arkansas, it was more the take on some of the other teams that I was just a little more surprised about. I thought his assessment of Arkansas was more than fair and somewhat optimistic, but. It's not a byproduct of anything they do or don't do. It's just a byproduct of everything else that's on that ridiculous schedules. And to think Cincinnati or Liberty is a gimme these days, no chance. Cincinnati, just because they lost their quarterback and lost a couple of players, Luke Fickell is signed, and they're an established program at this point. And then Liberty has Hugh Freeze, who, I mean, this guy works the living room as well as anybody. I mean, if you get fired from a job for recruiting violations, you land another job, generally you're going to be pretty good, and that's what Hugh Freeze does. I mean, he's got stock full of talent there. I'm not saying Arkansas, I think in their defense, generally beats up on the smaller teams, even if they're upstarts. Like I remember one year Tulsa was undefeated, and then they had a game at Arkansas. It wasn't a good Arkansas team, but Arkansas just beat the crap out of them, And I mean, it's pretty typical of the Hogs.
Yeah, the 1-7 win team in the AFC obviously are the Broncos we talked about. So the bottom feeders here, Jets, a 4-win team last year. Texans, a 4-win team last year. Jags, a 3-win team last year. I don't know if those teams have a shot even of sniffing the playoffs.
Well, the Jets really drafted well once again, and we have to say that while I criticize the Jets plenty, I think a lot of their drafting that they do, they definitely get quality players. It's just they seem to not get the most out of those guys when they get there. Denzel Mims, I think, is a guy that every time he's actually playing and involved in the game and getting the ball, he's exciting. But he's also on the list to probably be cut this season. So he's just one of those guys. It's either feast or famine. They drafted Leonard Williams a few years ago, who's now on the Giants. I thought that was an unbelievable pick. And, Williams signed, he never really was that guy with the Jets. But the Giants, I don't think he's ever really been that guy either. But they're not willing to part with him, that's for sure. You let him go somewhere else. So he must be doing something right. He might be one of those guys that takes up a lot of blockers, so you don't really get to see what he does. But, I think the Jets are going to be improved. We saw some improvement from them last year. They have, they have some issues. They have a young, ambitious head coach who's, plays somewhat aggressive, and that's going to work for and against you. But, you have some guys, they start to believe, they start to make plays, and, all of a sudden you have a real team. And I think, the NFL is the one league where there is parity. It's the one league where you see worst to first more often than anywhere else.
Yep, you got the NFC West on the schedule here for the Chiefs. Matter of fact, their first 4 games, 3 of those will be on the road. They start off at Arizona, home of the Chargers, then at the Colts, and then at the Buccaneers.
Just ridiculous. I mean, Colts, Chargers, Buccaneers. I mean, that's 3 playoff teams. What was the other team?
Arizona, on the road to Arizona, and then home to the Chargers.
Arizona did make the playoffs last year. So the Colts were not a playoff team, but they were a winning team with a winning record. So 3 playoffs teams and a team with a winning record who happened to have a guy named Fred Taylor on their team. It's going to probably help out Matt Ryan a lot.
Then you come home after that 4 game, and then you come home to the Raiders and Buffalo.
They don't have Fred Taylor. Who do they have? What's Jonathan Taylor? I always do this. I always do it. I get the names mixed up. Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, so it's a tough stretch because Vegas comes in and then Buffalo comes in. Of course, that Vegas game is a Monday night, and then you have a short week for the Bills, but that's at home though, so that's kind of tough. That's a tough schedule to start off here, Mitch. You're right here. That's the first 6 games. Yeah,
I mean it could be over before it starts. These are the schedule that the Dolphins had in a lot of these horrible years. It's just 4 or 5 road games right out of the gate against really tough teams.
Yeah, they do. They are going to have it tough there here. Of course, they do draw the NFC West this season. These Kansas City Chiefs, and of course, they are playing the AFC South. And of course, you are a first place team, so you draw a lot of the first place teams from these other divisions with their extra games. That's why you see Cincinnati there on the schedule, but it will be a home game here for the Chiefs. And their NFC game will be here. Let's see, Tampa Bay. We just talked about Tampa Bay, so that's their first place team they face. So it's tougher now with that 17th week. You play a first place team from out of conference, so it's really tough now on these first place teams coming back when they add that week 17 game.
Yeah. 17 weeks is just a grind for this, and we always know that what the roster that we see in week 1 is not going to be the roster that we see in week 14. And the roster we see in week 14 probably not the one we see in week 18. So I just think it's I don't know if the Chiefs. What happens to teams, and it's just the reality, is that eventually you got to pay the piper. When you win, and that's when you have a true salary cap league. In the NFL, you see structured deals, but you don't see, the 15-year deferred, like you see in baseball. So it's like it's a true salary cap league. So you can manipulate the cap and build a super team for a year, but you will pay the piper on that. You will have to pay and gut the roster. And the Rams getting it back this year, a couple of years after having to pay the piper. They just kept the right guys. Is what happened.
Yeah, and of course, thinking about this new schedule now, you play 5. Yeah, you play you play 4 first place teams now, right? For these first place teams with this week 17. So it makes it a lot tougher now. 5 first place teams on your schedule, 3 from the conference, and of course you got that 1 out of conference one now, and 2 out of conference because you play the NFC twice. You play 1 NFC division. And then the extra one is an NFC first place team. So yeah, it wouldn't be surprised for these first place teams to go against them to make busts. You get some value there as they match you up against a first place team from out of conference here with this week 17 schedule.
Well, I do want to let everybody know that something that is going to be going on for the NFL season for Pick Dogs is we're having an NFL contest, and I'm personally giving away $100,000. So I would like everyone to enter. There'll be more details on it, exactly how you qualify, but the grand prize is $100,000. There'll be some secondary prizes. They're probably not going to be so hot because I'd rather just have the one big prize. Is kind of the way that I'm doing it. And then if you refer the person, so there's ways where you can kind of game the system where I'm setting it up so you can do that. Basically, the person that refers the winner to the contest into the contest gets $10,000 also. So basically, if you team up with 3 or 4 guys or 11 guys, and one of your 11 guys wins, you get $110,000. You split it, $10,000 a piece. Not a bad day at the office. Better than probably winning a lot of the contests that are out there. So there'll be more details on it. Like I said, there'll be weekly prizes as well. But they're going to be, smaller, either pick packages or gear. You guys, I'd love to know your opinion on what you would rather have. pick packages or gear. We're kind of on the fence on that right now as to what the way it's going to work. So just let me know. And
yeah, I'd like to guess the the dates and the hour that you'll eclipse 100,000 subscribers.
Yeah. I think we'll get it in I think we'll get it by October. It really depends. We have a few, different videos that we're going to be doing. So I think we have a chance. I think generally we've let one of the other channels beat us in September. And you could look at the statistics, so it's not, this is not like any breaking news or anything. But there's one channel out there in particular that beats us in September, and we beat them the other 11 months, and they're going to crack 100,000 before us. They also had a 5+ year head start on us, but I believe that we'll pass them, and there's a chance still that we'll catch them sooner than that. We have some good ideas. We had we hit a home run with Ron's rundown. And I have plenty other home runs up my sleeve. I have 2 really big ones that are coming up that you guys are going to love.
Yeah, so keep an eye there for Mitch here over. You find him over at Pig Dogs. Of course, you get a morning show going on. Of course, a lot of the cappers contributing with video series. We see Ron Romanelli has been successful, great. We got Javon here with his parlay. Brian with those 2 video series, and the MMA show on Saturday. A good time for it too.
Yeah, I think getting everybody involved has been a good thing. And, people will say things in the comments, and they just, they thoroughly don't understand how YouTube works, how a company works, and how all of those other things work. And, I love Ron's rundown, whatever. It's like, and people are like, Ron, you don't need Mitch. You could just do this. And it's like, or, Mitch, you're jealous of Ron's rundown. I got news for you guys. It was my idea. And Ron will tell you the same thing, and I fully encourage him, and we discuss it all the time as to what the content is going to be in the track and how it's going to progress into the future, and things that we're going to do there and everything. So it's been a team effort, even though I'm not on the video. It doesn't mean I haven't been involved in it, and that it's like we're competing against each other when it's anything but that. We're competing against the other sites, and basically just trying to put people on winners, and I just feel that Ron has his audience. I have my audience. I have people that hate me. Ron has people that hate him, and Tony has people that like and hate him too. And, we've been at this long enough to know that, there are some people out there that they must just hate everything. Yeah. I got a text. The other, some people have my number, and I got a text, and I might've deleted it already, but this guy says, I don't know how you ever get a date. It was one of the lines in there. It's like, I've been married for like almost 20 years. It's like long before there was Pig Dogs, and long before any of this stuff.
Before there was
sports. Ridiculous. I mean, I don't get it.
I'm still trying to figure out how many of them are serious and how many are just trying to poke you. Just for humor, to get humor out of it.
I think that some of them, I know the ones that are just trying to poke me, but I think that other ones, there's just really true hatred out there. It's true hatred. I don't know where it comes from, but I don't know.
Yep. Anything else, Mitch? Of course, we've heard the betting tools is something that's been really successful. Of course, with the emails and showing them off. I think once we get back in the swing of things here with baseball, the betting tools, you've got a lot of things going on there on Sports Shadow and Pig Dogs as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for the contest. I'm excited to give away the $100,000. Everyone has been, super generous in their support of our community. Whether they've been watching us for 15 years and have never bought anything, or they buy every day, or whatever the case may be. It really doesn't matter. It takes everybody and every little bit of effort to be successful. There's more and more competition out there every single day, and thankfully most of them suck. So we're in pretty good shape, and Tony and I are 2 of the few people that over all of this time have owned our own companies and put our face out there. Most of the people that we know no longer own their companies. They're just, if they appear at all, which is rare. Anyone that does own their company, I really don't know anybody else that owns the company and is out there. I don't know anybody.
No.
And I know most of the people in our business.
Yep. No, I agree with you 100%. All right, Mitch.
It sets us up for a different. We're judged differently and seen differently, than some of these other companies, which are, if you guys knew who owned them, and if you actually saw the people that own and run the company, and they did the videos, you guys might have a little different opinion up to what they're up to. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think most of them say. I'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that one. All right, Mitch. It's always great having you on, man. Have a great night. We'll talk with you again. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. It's a day off, and we know it's a light crowd, but we appreciate everyone that tunes in. And it's going to be a big football season and big college basketball season, big NBA season. I'm looking forward to all of it. It might be the biggest November in the history of sports betting and the history of sports, because when you factor in all the sports going on in November and you add the World Cup to it, oh my goodness. Yeah, it's been a couple of years since we really had the November, and then this year, on top of it the World Cup. So yeah, it's going to be the biggest November ever. Yeah. Unfortunately, only 30 days. I campaign. I vote for an extra day for November. Yeah, it should be that. Yeah, it should be extra day for November, no doubt. Let's make every month 31 days. What the heck, Absolutely. All right, Mitch. Have a good one, buddy. You too. All right, Mitch here on the drive. So, guys, if you missed any of our picks, we'll do a complete recap. At the end of the show, one little bit more past the hour. Hey, there are no games in prime time, no Major League Baseball in prime time, no WNBA in prime time. No CFL in prime time, so we went a little over here. So apologies there, but you guys know we'll get more information. Try to get as much information on the show as possible. Let's continue here on the drive. And now it's time for my pick. We're going to be looking at the Seattle Seahawks to go over 5.5 wins. I know Russell Wilson's gone, but you know what? Geno Smith isn't a slouch, okay? He actually showed enough improvement for me. But more importantly, is Pete Carroll gets control of his team again, right? It's Pete Carroll's team now. He doesn't have to tailor to Russell Wilson, wanting to throw the ball every down. Pete Carroll believes in defense, believes in the running game, and I think he got the perfect quarterback situation here with Geno Smith, who showed to be a game manager out there. He's more mature now than and he played well in spots. But again, you only got to win 6 games. Right? You got to win 6 games to get there. Pete Carroll's never won less than 7 wins with the Seahawks, and you got Lockett to Metcalf. You got some players there. But I think what you'll see here with the Seahawks, remember the running game. You got Rashad Penny, Carson in there. I think what you're going to see here is a situation where you're going to see a lot of running game. You're going to see the offensive line rebuilt. You're going to see the defense again. Pete Carroll will have his defense swarming. He does very good. He does very good with young players. Remember the rebuild he had with the Seahawks before? The team was a winner, right? All those old, aging players that he had defensively exiting the program. I'm not looking for a playoff spot, not even looking for a Super Bowl. I'm just looking for 6 wins. And I think when you look at their schedule, now here's some of the teams on their schedule this year, why I think they can get there. When you look at the schedule here for the Seattle Seahawks, you're going to be looking at teams here against teams like the Giants, Jets, Panthers, Falcons, and Lions. These are on their schedule. All winnable games. Remember, they have divisional games. Divisional games will be tough, right? The Rams and Seahawks play tough. Rams 49ers will be a tough one. The Seahawks 49ers will be tough. Seahawks Arizona will be tough. It won't be gimmies for these teams to beat the Seahawks, especially on the road here. So I think they could sneak a couple wins here in the division. And of course, we see the Jets here on their schedule. And when we look here at the Seahawks, I think they've got a shot here to get there. So I'm gonna take him here at over 5.5 wins here with the Seattle Seahawks. Now it's Pete Carroll's team again, and of course you'll see the defense built up, special teams up there, and I think they've got it here with the run game as well as setting up the play action here for Geno Smith to go deep to some of his receivers. I think you're going to see them get to that point. Although we do have Momo who don't agree here. He likes the under here, but it's all right. No worries there. We like Seahawks over 5.5 wins. All right, guys, check out Pick Dogs from Christmas in July. I've reduced my 1-year All Sports Pass $300, $9.99 for my 1-year All Sports Pass. All my premium plays here from all the major sports I cover.
Major League Baseball, NFL, college football, NBA, college basketball. I'm the #1 unit producer in Major League Baseball this year, so get on board with my 1-year all sports pass over at Pick Dogs. Took $300 off that price for $9.99 over at Pick Dogs, so get on board. All right, let's continue on here with the drive-through, guys. We missed our picks. It's time for our recap, so let's get the recap going here. We started off with Chris. Chris liked NC State over 8.5 wins. Then we had El Ninos. He liked the Bengals to win the series against the Steelers 2-0. The return -120. Sean was on the Lions over 6.5 wins. James Clark was on the Braves to win the World Series at +900. Rod likes Arkansas Razorbacks over 6.5 wins. Mitch likes the Chiefs to not make the playoffs at +180. And yours truly here is the Seahawks over 5.5 wins. All right, that'll do it for this edition of the Drive-Thru, guys. Be sure to tune in again tomorrow live at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll do it all over again. We'll bring our cappers in from Pick Dogs and Sports Chat Place to give out live free picks. We have some games in primetime tomorrow, so we'll have that for you here on our show as games return, as baseball returns. We may mix in some football because it's not a really heavy schedule in Major League Baseball, so we may mix in some football. We'll see if we have cappers who want to come in with some props on some of the primetime games in Major League Baseball for you here on Thursday. So tune into the show. Make sure you like, subscribe, set those notifications. Hey, we want you guys live with us so you can bet in the best numbers when we give you these free picks here on the Drive-Thru. All right, that'll do it for our show, guys. Remember, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Tune in here on our channel. We have Mitch with the morning show at 10 a.m. each time. It's Mitch. It's Brian Bittler, and you've got Chris Ruffolo. Don't forget the video series up there. Mitch's 7 picks in 5 minutes. We got Ron Romanelli's rundown, running down every game from Major League Baseball. Also, we got Brian's video series with his Fast 5, take it to the bank plays as well. In his video series, we got Jolan's parlay of the day, as well as an MMA show on Saturdays with Mills and Brad Francis at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, that'll do it for the night show. Let's bring in the cappers tonight. We're going to wait. Good night to you guys.